YouTube Ozzico, the Goat House is back, and today's the day. We're actually just a few hours away from kickoff of the 2020 NFL season. Texans-Chiefs, really excited. We're going to be live tweeting during the whole game, much like the other games during the whole year here on our Twitter. So you're going to want to follow that Twitter. Be much appreciated. We got you covered for the NFL and for the channel on there. And we'll have full coverage all year long here on the channel. We already got straight up picks with the other members of the Goat House on the channel. I got my score predictions on the channel already. I got power ranks on the channel already. So check those out. They'll be coming every single week. But right here in this video, something new I decided to add that we'll come back to. We'll do every single week here. It is bold predictions, kind of hot takes. And in this episode, it's for the season, and some people sent in some for week one. Throughout the rest of the year, it'll be for that specific week. And yeah, you guys are playing along here. You guys sent these in through Twitter, so it's another reason to follow that Twitter. You'll get some shout outs. I'm not going to use every single one that's been sent in, so just use a chunk of them there, and we'll break them down. So I thought this was a cool idea. Let me know your guys' thoughts. We have an Instagram, a podcast, a Patreon as well. We're trying to reach that 60K subscriber goal here early in the season. You're going to want to subscribe, turn notifications on so you don't miss a thing. We much appreciate it. But kind of talking about that Patreon, this is what we offer there, patreon.com/thegoathouse. There's a link in the description. And a lot of these things are already up for this week. I do my score predictions here on YouTube, but Junior, who you only see straight up picks on YouTube from, has his score predictions already up for week one. He'll be back every single week with those. I have my locks of the week for each week on there, looking at spread locks, over-under locks, upset of the week. If you're in a survivor pool, I have my straight-up lock. Things like that, multiple different ones like that. Those are already up. I have my college football score predictions on the Patreon as well, doing the top 25 games and predicting the scores of those games every single week. Updated playoff predictions, those will start as the season gets going, but I'll constantly once we get into week 5 or so, I'll update those every single week. We also have bonus content and videos along the way. Sometimes we create skits or videos on YouTube or for YouTube, but they end up being not appropriate for YouTube, so if we can't upload them, we will upload them to the Patreon. Patreon will allow those. Discord access and plenty more, so we much appreciate it. You can check out that Patreon link that is in the description and in the comments. But to move on to the actual video, so this is how this all started today. I tweeted, Danielle Hunter actually went down 3 weeks. He's out for at least, and that's unfortunate because I was predicting him to be the sack leader this year. And so he's going to miss at least 3 weeks, so trying to think who my prediction will be. You can go Khalil Mack. You can go Chandler Jones. You can go Myles Garrett. Realistic options. I was getting a little bold here when tweeting this. I'm thinking Chase Young. I think with that supporting cast around him for the Washington football team and how good of a player he is, even though he's just a rookie, I think he really can go off. And, again, there could be an easier choice like the guys I named, but I'm going to go Chase Young. I got a feeling about that. It is a hot take here, and I'm rolling with it. And then I started gathering your guys' hot takes here on Twitter for the season mainly, but also looking at week one, and I thought, let's create a video out of it here. We'll give some shout-outs. And again, we'll do this every single week. We'll come back to this and have your guys' hot takes for week 2 next week, then week 3, and we'll keep going on there. So it should be a lot of fun. So you can let me know your thoughts on that Chase Young hot take. But moving on to the next one, somebody they kind of like the Chase Young one there. This is from Peter, Terry's Burner. He's going to go with the 49ers have a Super Bowl hangover and finish last in their division. And this is definitely pretty hot. I'm trying to categorize all these. I'm actually going to say that that's hot. We're going to call it hot, a hot take. We'll do piping hot. We'll do hot. We'll do realistic but kind of hot. We'll do warm. I think it's pretty hot. I do think it's realistic, but I think it's a step over that. I think, and we'll get this off my face here. I think it's possible because of the division that they have. I think there's some really good teams in the division. A harder schedule for the Niners this year. Look at like the Cardinals; they have a much easier schedule. I feel like, and a team like that getting better. I think it's possible, but I think it's going to be a step over. Realistic. Hot but realistic. Because they have such a really good team. I don't know if they finish last. It's hard to see them going from first to worst. It is possible though, but that is an interesting hot take there. Next one from Charles Arlott, Josh Allen, most sacks in the NFL, and Minshew a top 15 quarterback. So Josh Allen, the pass rusher of the Jaguars, most sacks in the NFL, kind of gets overshadowed looking at last year. The success of Nick Bosa. Josh Allen played just as good, but Nick Bosa and his defense, his team went pretty far to the Super Bowl, and he hit some major impact plays. But Josh Allen was right there with him. So he can get a crazy amount of sacks. I wonder what's more bold, maybe my Chase Young or Charles here, his Josh Allen sack leader. Pretty interesting to think about there. Minshew, a top 15 quarterback. Yeah, so we got a 2-for-1 here. So trying to label these. I'm not gonna say it's hot. I'm gonna give that one hot. I think Josh Allen's it's kind of realistic. There, most likely not gonna happen, but it's somewhat realistic. Minshew, top 15 quarterback. Again, it's somewhat realistic. I don't think it'll happen. So we're gonna call that a pretty hot take there. And then we're moving on to the next one. We got from Sean Jordan. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is actually a good receiver and goes for over 1,000 yards there. So this is kind of a two-parter. I think you mean actually a good receiver. I think it could be that. But to be that good, go over 1,000 yards when you got, Rager, you got Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, all these guys, even John Hightower can be pretty solid. I'm going to say it's a piping hot take here. I don't think Arcega-Whiteside would be that good going over 1,000 yards. So definitely an interesting one, though. We'll see if he can, because he was a pretty solid prospect last year. So maybe he can really turn it around. So we'll see. Next one from the EBC. Burrow throws 30 touchdowns. I think we saw about 3-4 guys go over 30 touchdowns last year. So it's kind of rare, but Joe Burrow is kind of rare. That's a rare prospect right there. He has some pretty darn good playmakers out there as well. In the way he's able to throw the ball at LSU, I know it's going to be more of a challenge to do it here on the NFL level, but this is a weird one. This is a crazy one because only a handful, not even, of quarterbacks actually do this. I'm gonna have to go piping hot, but it's piping hot at the same time of being, it's not a zero. There's a chance. There's a chance here. So that's kind of an interesting one. That it's very unlikely to happen. But it could happen. But at the same time, it's still piping hot because, only a few, even really good quarterbacks couldn't do that last year. And looking at his offensive line, so we're gonna categorize that under piping hot. Maybe we can get some in the future here. We got many weeks to figure it out. Maybe some sound effects with those piping hot, the labels popping up there. Have the graphics guy get on that. We'll see if he can be the audio guy now too. Moving on to the next one, Garrett. His hot take: Justin Herbert wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Well, Tyrod Taylor starting the season, so obviously he's banking on Herbert coming in at a decent time here, which is possible. I don't know how to categorize that one in my opinion here. I think it's either hot or it's piping hot. We're gonna make it piping. I think that's piping hot take there. I think because he's not starting week one. If you started week one, it would definitely be lower or better chances than piping hot. But he's not starting week one. I almost get the feeling that Tyrod Taylor's really not on a short leash, really. I think he'll play several weeks. And I think the Chargers could compete and could win with Tyrod Taylor, so there's not really and they could struggle because they don't have the offensive line. That's the other thing, though. Do they want to throw Herbert, who had the best offensive line in college football at Oregon, ridiculous, going to the Chargers, who a little on the weaker side in terms of protecting him on the edge there? Do they want to throw him into that situation? Do they want him just to sit and learn here? So for many reasons, I don't think he gets much or any at all playing time. So and I'm not a big Herbert guy, especially right away. So a lot needs to happen for him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. But there isn't that many. There's a lot of candidates, guys that can win. But in terms of the strong candidates that for sure have a shot over Herbert or those other quarterbacks, there's really only two that we put towards the very top. It's Burrow and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But there are collection of very good receivers here. So we'll see. Dan Desp here. Las Vegas will bench Carr midseason for Mariota, and that's if he's off the IR. He currently is on the IR. That means he's missing at least 3 weeks there. And they'll shop Derek Carr at the end of the season. If this was a couple months ago, maybe right when they signed Mariota, I would have told you I would have told you pretty realistic, actually. But right now, as we sit, I'm gonna say, I can't say piping. I'm gonna say hot, because if Carr starts to, if it's mid-season, we'll say like week 8, week 9, if Carr's struggling, they're gonna take him out, and they would go to Mariota if he's healthy. And if Carr wasn't the guy, if they had to take him out, then they'll have to shop him. But a lot of things do need to happen, but it is certainly possible. Mariota with another injury popping up kind of makes this a little hotter than maybe it would have been a few months ago. But if I had to put money on it, they go the distance with Carr. They go long-term in the season. I think he plays a little better than expected, actually. But it is possible. We're going to categorize that under hot there. Next, we got Tim Joy. Ceedee Lamb leads the league in receiving yards. It's pretty piping. I love me some Ceedee Lamb here, Tim. But and here, let me say this: he's going to play in the slot a lot, and he's going to get a lot of action. Won't have to deal with a lot of press. He'll be open. The field will be spread out. I don't know about receiving yards, though. It could happen. That's pretty piping hot, though, because he might not even lead on his team, and then we got to look at leading in the league here. But I think he's going to do some real damage, some big damage there with the Cowboys. I'm really excited for Ceedee Lamb. He's going to play all over the place, but he's going to start in the slot, I think, and that's scary. That's a little scary for defenses. So I like it, though, because it's piping, but I wouldn't rule it out. I like Ceedee Lamb that much. He is a rookie, though. From Ezekiel Gonzalez and Saldi here, we got Alvin Kamara finishes the season with over 2,000 scrimmage yards and 15-plus touchdowns. This is a pretty good one here, Zeke. We got, I think, let's see. I'm gonna go realistic. It's a little hot. We're gonna go realistic, though. I think 2,000 scrimmage yards. I mean, that's not that much it's a lot. It's a lot. But for Kamara, with his receiving ability, definitely can do it. And then 15-plus touchdowns, in both the rushing and the receiving game. I think it's a lot needs to happen. Both sides here. The yards, the touchdowns, obviously. I think it's realistic. You see McCaffrey do it. I think Kamara isn't as far off from McCaffrey as people think. The key is staying healthy. So, again, things need to happen here. Needs to get the yards, the touchdowns, needs to stay healthy. He wasn't really healthy last year. I do trust him this year. So, some things need to happen. But it's realistic. It's realistic, pretty hot at the same time. I like that one a lot. We're moving on. From GOAT 305, Tua Tagovailoa starts the second half of the Super Bowl. We're already going to throw it up there. Where's the piping for his first NFL game, and leads a wild comeback after the Finns went scoreless in the first half and wins it in OT. So, yes, maybe some flashbacks to Alabama when he first stepped in and won that game against Georgia there. That's piping hot, though. That is. I'm on fire right now. We're on fire here. It's burning. They got to make the Super Bowl with Fitzpatrick. Tua's got to come in, get a ridiculous. We're getting a little crazy here. That'll be something. We're getting a bit crazy with this one. Piping hot all over that one. Michael Monroe, Falcons win the NFC South. Not a Falcon. He's not a Falcons fan, by the way. All right, good to know there. So no bias there. Falcons win the NFC South. Ooh, where am I going to categorize that one? With the Saints, with the Bucs in the division, the Panthers could be sneaky. Falcons, and I could be wrong. It's tough to predict how schedules will be because you pretty much have to know each opponent, how good, because there's always mysterious teams. But looking at the schedule before the season, I think the Falcons have the toughest schedule in football, pretty by a long shot, really. I can't call that piping. We'll call it hot, but it's definitely on the fringe of being piping because you have Saints, Bucs. Tough schedule. Never know with that, though. But the defense improved. They're healthy right now as well. They had Dante Fowler. Offense could be pretty darn explosive. Could be the best offense at any given time. I think the offensive line will be improved. So we'll call it hot, but it's going to be a tough task. Let me say, passing up those other two teams or maybe all three there. But, yeah, we'll see. Luke Baumgartner here. Antonio Gibson, Rookie of the Year. Oh, this is an easy one for me. This is hot, but it's realistic at the same time. Running backs got a pretty good edge when it comes to, rookie of the year. And now you got one that kind of fits today's style. He can catch the ball in the backfield, downfield, former receiver here. If you remember pre-draft process, I liked Antonio Gibson a lot. He's perfect for Scott Turner's offense, familiar with the McCaffrey type running back over there. So that's fantastic. I think he's going to be their lead back. I think he's a natural running back, even though he hasn't had that much experience at running back. Now he's learned from AP, learned from this, an NFL staff, really going to develop. He's going to be very good for them. He's going to be very good, and I think he has a shot to win. I actually put him in my dark horse to win Rookie of the Year. I'd probably pick Edwards-Helaire or Burrow before him, but he's not too far down the list. So I'm going to say it's pretty hot because those guys are the obvious choices, but it's very realistic at the same time. We're moving on to the next one here. Kyler Murray wins MVP, and I'm actually going to say realistic. It's hot, but it's pretty realistic actually. And that might surprise a little bit of people there. Maybe it's borderline being hot, next tier up here. But Murray going to throw the ball a ton. Interesting offense. He's going to run a lot as well. He can make some moves on the ground there. His stats are going to be absolutely wild this year. An easier schedule, second year in this offense. There's a lot of signs pointing towards him lighting up the stat sheet, the production sheet there. And that could be enough. And the Cardinals could sneak in there in the playoffs or maybe win the division, and that could be enough for Kyler Murray to win the MVP in his second season. So it's pretty hot because he's not supposed to be, the best player in football. I do think it's realistic for the reasons I explained, though. So interesting one for sure. Christian Herrera, Tyrod, has 4 total touchdowns against the Bengals. So we got a week 1 bold prediction here. So I appreciate you for sending us that. 1 rushing, 3 passing. I say about 280 passing and 50 rushing. So we're getting specific here. 4 total touchdowns, 1 rushing, 3 passing. I think this is. We're gonna say realistic. We're gonna say it's kind of realistic here, hot but realistic. And there is a step under this. I'm calling it warm, and that just means it's pretty realistic. And I don't think it's that hot. We haven't seen that yet. This gets pretty close though. 4 touchdowns is a lot. That's why it's still pretty hot. I think it's realistic. 280 isn't a lot of passing yards. 50 is not a lot of rushing. 4 touchdowns kind of the tough part, but I think it's really the Bengals defense a little iffy on that. It's got a bright future, some young guys, but I think it's a little hot, realistic here. Next one, we got Z Visions. Jags go 7-9. I think. We're gonna make that. We're gonna make it hot. I almost went realistic. It is a little realistic. It's a little realistic here. The reason I ended up going hot here is because, I think, just look at the rest of that division. Titans, that's a good football team. It's a really good football team. Texans, that's a really good football team. And they got Deshaun Watson. If you look at it on paper, maybe the Titans are a little better, but the Texans got Deshaun Watson, so they're in the same boat as the Titans. The Colts can be we know that's a good team. It's definitely a good team. It's a sneaky team there. Phillip Rivers could do some damage. They got a dominant running game, offensive line. That can open up the passing game. Defense, they got some studs here and there. So it's going to be tough for them to get a division win, and they got to win 7 games there. It's borderline. It's somewhat realistic here. So you could go. That's a tough one. You could go realistic hot there. That's a good one. That's a good one there. It can definitely happen. Turner Leon here. Derrick Henry breaks the single-season rushing record. Oof. Is that piping? I can't call that piping. Derrick Henry's that good. I'm still going to call it hot, though, because I don't know. I think they want to pass more than people think they want to pass. So I think they're going to throw the ball a little more. They don't want to work Derrick Henry too much. They sign him long-term. They don't want to wear him down now and in the future. They're going to give him a ton of carries, and he's going to get a lot of yards. Single-season rushing record. I don't know. Adrian Peterson missed it barely, and that was in a running league. I don't know if anybody's going to break. I don't think anybody's going to break Eric Dickerson's record there. That's going to be a tough one to break. It's going to be one impressive season if they do, because where the league's heading too. So I don't think it happens. I think the Titans want to pass the ball more than people think they want. How many times they actually want it, how many times they think they want to pass, if that makes any sense there. So Derrick Henry, though, he can do it. He could definitely do it if he gets the shot. Cameron Sullivan got 2 here. Season. Lions and Steelers win their divisions. Okay. Week 1, Broncos win against the Texans or Broncos win against the Titans, I think he means, by 14+ points. Well, all right, we're going to do 2 separate here. Lions, Steelers. So Lions and Steelers have to win their... Okay, he gave us a lot here. If he means both of them win their... Okay, if both of them win their division, that's piping hot. I think it's piping hot. I think they both can win their division, but for both of them at the same time to win, it's piping hot. But if we're talking about, okay, the Lions win their division, I'm actually going to say realistic hot. I think that division... I think they're all good teams. There's nobody I don't think that's great. I know the Packers made the NFC Championship game last year. We know the Vikings are usually pretty consistent. I don't know if they're great. They're pretty close to that. I think everyone's somewhat even. It's hot because they're not supposed to be the best team. But if Stafford stays healthy throughout the stretch of the season, maybe guys like Kerryon Johnson, Marvin Jones as well, where we're used to seeing beat up, they can definitely do it. So realistic hot. The Steelers, I'm going to say the same thing because the Steelers are better than the Lions. But the Lions got to pass maybe the Packers, and the Steelers got to pass the Ravens. So a little bit of a tougher task. So the same range here, realistic, but it's pretty hot. So if we're going splitting them up, Broncos, and I'm pretty darn sure he means the Titans there. Broncos win against the Titans. I don't think he means the Chiefs over the Texans. Yeah, because that wouldn't be that realistic. That wouldn't be that hot, I should say. So Broncos win against the Titans by 14+ points. I'm thinking here. We're going to go, it's a tough one. I'm thinking between realistic hot or warm here, actually. Because we're going to go realistic hot. I thought about going for our first warm here because in Mile High, it's week 1. Anything can happen here. Broncos, even though they got some injuries, still a good team. Titans got some guys that are, just showing up this week. That's not good. But yeah, the Broncos do have their injuries. Realistic hot. It's pretty hot because Titans are the better team, but it is in Denver. It's almost warm there. It's possible. But at the same time, they got to win by 4. Yeah, we're gonna keep it realistic hot. They got to win. They win by 14+ points. Realistic, but it's hot. That's why we call it that. All right, moving on to the next one. We got Nice is Doom here with an injury prediction. Titans fans gonna get on him here. We got neither Tannehill or Henry play over 12 games this year, so he's predicting injuries here. If he just put Tannehill here, I would say it's pretty realistic, but putting Tannehill and Henry and specific amount of games here, I'm gonna put piping. I'm gonna put piping here, but we actually talked about it a little bit ago that Derrick Henry, maybe the Titans worked him so much. I don't think yet, but I think it could be coming. They worked him so much because there's only a certain amount of time running backs have until they wear down. It could be possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It could be possible, so he could be on something here. And Tannehill, we've seen the injuries in the past. So if you just put Tannehill, it'd be way under piping hot. But he put Tannehill and Henry, and he has a specific number again. We're going to put piping hot here for Nice is Doom. Moving on to the next one, we got Danny Marshall, Josh Jacobs rushing title this year. Ooh, realistic hot, or is it warm? We're going to go, it's definitely realistic. It's definitely realistic. We're going to go, it's still kind of hot because you're singling out one guy when there's so many guys that could get the rushing title. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Zeke, Kamara, Cook, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. I can keep going. There's so many guys. So if you're picking one guy, it's always kind of hot, but it definitely can happen. Josh Jacobs, really good runner. We saw it last year even when he was missing some games. So that kind of brings it to warm. But I do think the Raiders want to throw the ball a bit more. We've seen in the red zone they were kind of left with only running the ball last year, goal line. They want to throw some passes at some teams there. So I'm going to say it's definitely realistic. We're going to say a little hot there, though. Moving on, Vikings fan. Justin Jefferson will be the rookie wide receiver with the most yards. Ooh. So you got you got an historic, even before it even starts, historic draft class with receivers. Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. You got Ceedee Lamb with the Cowboys. You got Jerry Jeudy with the Broncos. You got Henry Ruggs with the Raiders. There's Jalen Rager. Did I say Rager with the Eagles? You got a lot here. There's a lot of different options that I didn't name that can do it, but those are probably the top ones. I'm going to say, now if you said receptions, I actually might go with Warm because I think he actually could get more receptions, not yards, receptions than Adam Thielen. Because they're going to put him in the slot. They're going to give him a lot of 2-yard, 5-yard passes, even downfield passes. They'll try to sneak those in. He's going to be an easy target for Kirk Cousins. So receptions, yeah, but I think he'll definitely be up there. I'm going to say realistic hot, though. I think Ruggs, and then we see Cortland Sutton actually coming out recently that he could be a little hurt. We'll see. We'll monitor that, obviously, see what happens there. But that could open things up for Judy. But Ruggs and the Alabama guys, I would take Ceedee Lamb if he didn't have two other really good receivers with him too. But I think those guys have more of a shot for yards. I'll probably go Ruggs would probably be my pick. And then Rager will be fantastic for the Eagles as well. Ayuk for the Niners, possibly with those injuries. It's definitely realistic. There's definitely a shot here too. It's very close to being Warm. If you want receptions, I'd easily go Warm. That's a good one. Stephen Paul, TJ Watt breaks single season sack record. It'd be tough to do, and without DeAndre Hopkins, Watson is the MVP this year. So the first one I'm going to go piping because I think it could happen. TJ Watt's that good, but that is a crazy record to beat, and I think he'll see more doubles this year. I think Bud Dupree actually saw more doubles than Watt last year, which was interesting. Don't think that happens again. So it's not really going to slow us down his sack numbers. He's not going to decline or anything because he's getting better. It's just going to be tough to go that much further, and then, so that's pretty piping, but I wouldn't put it past TJ Watt. And without DeAndre Hopkins, Watson, I think, give me Warm. I had to put it up there for the first time. We haven't even seen it yet. Watson can do it. Yeah, I like, Mahomes would be obvious choice. Can Lamar Jackson repeat? And I like guys that definitely can do it, that are better chances than dark horse are guys like Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson. I think Watson can do it. I don't think losing Hopkins makes him worse. He's getting better by year. His offensive line will be better, so that means he will be even better. And that's with already him improving because he's a young, improving potential star here, maybe already a star. So I'd say that's Warm. I think he definitely can do it there. That's a pretty good one. Next one, we got Waddle season. Brees gets MVP. I'm gonna say it's a little hot because the other talented guys that are gonna have maybe a little more explosive plays. So it remains hot because of that. But I think it's realistic. I think it kind of coming down to the end of his career actually helps his case too, because it just makes it that much more impressive if he goes out and just balls out. Maybe steps up, because remember last year he came back from an injury, still was balling out. So maybe he's even better right now compared to where he was coming back. So I think it's realistic. It's hot though, looking at some of the other talented guys there. We're picking one guy here, so I definitely think it's realistic though. For Drew Brees, we got the next one. We got a lot. Nicholas says Mitchell Trubisky starts all 16 games. It's a good one. For me, I'm gonna say Nick Foles has to come in at some point, but they're just, this is either hot or piping. I'm gonna say it's piping actually, because I think it's kind of well known right now that he's on a short leash. I don't know if they actually said that. So that's the problem. I don't know if they've actually said that, but the feeling that he's on the short leash makes sense and means that they wouldn't really hesitate to put Foles in. Nagy's on it. This is where it comes up, because for me to put piping up, because Nagy's on a short list. So if Trubisky's struggling, if they're struggling, I don't think he'll hesitate to make the change. But they are pretty. What's the word? They're pretty attached to Trubisky, putting him in over Foles in the first place. So that's why I thought about going hot there, but I think it's piping. Play all 16. It's borderline though. I just think that they're eventually going to put in Foles at some point. We're going to see. Xander Zupon here. Nasir Adderly gets 2 picks. In week 1. So we got a week 1 prediction. Good to see those. Because going further, on with these episodes, we're going to just look at by week. But yeah, somebody's got to step up for Derwin James. Could he get the picks on Joe Burrow? I think it's piping because we don't know how many. I think his snaps won't be like he's gonna get snaps, but it's not gonna be like full. The other secondary guys in the secondary. It's not gonna get the same amount of snaps as I know they're corners, but Harris as Hayward is Desmond King, who will play in different spots, so he'll have limited snaps compared to those guys. In my opinion, we'll see. But he is a playmaker, and I'm excited to see him. And, the rest of the defense pressure against that Bengals offensive line could create turnovers, even if it's not Joe Burrow's fault. He gets it out a little earlier than he wants to. So it could happen. But a guy that won't have full snaps going to have to get 2 picks in 1 week. It's pretty piping, but he is a playmaker back there. Excited to see him in his second year. Niku, I don't know. I probably pronounced it wrong. I apologize. Apex Alex 334. Then we could say that. Season. Tremaine Edmonds and Denzel Ward become first-team All-Pro. We got 2 guys here. So both of them at the same time becoming first-team All-Pro. I'm not going to say piping hot. I'm going to say hot. So if we go Tremaine Edmonds becomes first-team All-Pro, but just him, I'm going to say that's warm. I'm a big Tremaine Edmonds guy. I think he can do it this year. I think it's very realistic. Denzel Ward, it's hot, but it's pretty realistic. Denzel Ward, pretty good corner. And they're going to target the opposite side a little more. He can be a lockdown guy. It's a pretty good one there. And then one more. Went through a lot of these. Trevor, Bills missed the playoffs due to natural regression from their easy schedule and complete lack of injuries last season, along with no improvement from the quarterback. He's got a 2-parter here. So we'll do that one first here. So Bills missed the playoffs due to natural regression from their easy. So a little harder schedule this year. They weren't beat up last year, which is somewhat rare, but maybe they drafted some healthy guys. You never know, some tough guys. And then no improvement for quarterback. So it's just, I don't know if the schedule's that much harder this year. I'm not really predicting them to get hurt. But I could see if Josh Allen stays the same. I'm glad he brought that up because I kind of believe in Josh Allen. I don't think he's been anything spectacular, but he has impressed me. I did not predict him to be not too far off, but I did not predict him to be as good as he is right now. I know he's nothing spectacular right now, but I thought it would take him a longer trip, I guess, to get here. Made the playoffs last year, but it's a pretty complete team. But kind of going to Trevor's point here, if he stays the same, that really means he gets worse because teams game plan. You look at guys like, young guys that were pretty solid and all of a sudden they're bad. The young guys didn't just get bad. They didn't just decline at that prime age or heading into their prime age. It's not the fact really ever. It's more of they didn't improve. Teams figure them out. They can game plan. They get the second time to play them, the third time to play them, the fourth time to play them. They figured them out. You got to change your game. You got to elevate your game. So that he could. Josh Allen stays the same. That means teams can figure him out. He'll turn the ball over more. So that would be his point there, and it's a point. I'm not saying I 100% agree. It's his point, and it's a decent one there. So the Bills missed the playoffs because of that. I don't know if I should go. I was close to going warm here, but I'm gonna go. It's hot, but it's realistic. Because that's tough though. Because the Patriots could be the Patriots. The Dolphins could be. I just look at that division. No, the Bills are. Even if Josh Allen stays the same, I think the Bills are by far the best team in that division, and that should be enough. It is definitely realistic though. I'm still gonna call it a little hot there though. That's a pretty good one though. It's a pretty good one. If Rivers can be a solid QB, the Colts are legit contenders. I think you mean Super Bowl contenders. Another good one here. Okay, for Super Bowl contenders, I'm going to put... I was about to put hot. I'm going to put piping hot if we're talking Super Bowl contenders. Because if Rivers just solid... Because the Chargers had some really good teams. In the Rivers era recently and in the past, and they were always disappointing, and even when they weren't disappointing, they just weren't Super Bowl contenders. I mean, we thought they were preseason, but they just weren't. So first year on the Colts, if he plays well, looking at the rest of the roster, pretty good. Good running game. Receivers could get better. Defense, the secondary I worry about a little bit. Maybe pass rush. Besides Buckner and Houston, there's not much else with them. It's going to be tough. If he couldn't do it with the Chargers, how's he going to do it the first year with the Colts? So I'm not saying 0% chance, but I'm going to say piping out for Super Bowl contenders. If we're talking playoff contenders, and that drops all the way down to warm, I definitely think I won't even say they can win playoff games, but go that far, win game after game. Who could say the most consistent is kind of the key to going in, winning the Super Bowl. But to be playoff contenders, we'll say warm there. So another warm pops up to end off. That's a lot went through to end this video here. So, that's going to wrap this up. You can play along in the future episodes of these. We're going to go by week. So next Thursday, we'll do it. It'll be, just bold predictions, hot takes for week 2. See what you come up with. And then the next week will be week 3 and so on. I think you get the point. You want to follow our Twitter for live talk during NFL games. Get involved in things like this and plenty more. So you're going to want to follow that. Be much appreciated. Check out that Patreon. Like I said, we got a bunch of stuff on there and more to come with the bonus content, extra score predictions, locks of the week. If you're looking to put money on games, extra things like that, some college football content as well. So we much appreciate if you could check that out as well. Full coverage on the channel. Unlike anyone else, we got our picks, our score picks, our power rankings, always adding more as the season goes on here. So really excited for the season. It starts in just a couple hours. I'm pumped. Hopefully you guys are for the season and for our content there. Smash the like button if you enjoyed, but that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.